श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। क्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भेषजविपुरोगिणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वेदव्यासं स्वात्मरूपं सत्यसन्धं परायणं शान्तं जितेन्द्रियक्रोधं सशिष्यं प्रणमाम्यहं। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। नारायणपुरो व्यक्तदण्डमव्यक्तसुमण्डस्य मे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुदीनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीं त्वामनुसन्धतां भगवद्गीते वेद्वेषिणीं श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां केदारेन्तरितश्चेतस्पीठप्रतिष्ठाता चेदाच्छङ्करो गुरुः. So we started looking at the introduction to this fifth adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita, known as this fifth adhyaya is known as Karma-Sanyasa Yoga. So here, to start with, the first shloka goes like this, where Arjuna asks Krishna, saying Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna, Punaryogam cha Shamsasi, Yachreya Etayorekam, Tanme Bruhi Sunischitam. O Krishna, you praise this Karma-Sanyasa, renunciation of actions, and again Karma Yoga. You Sannyasam Karmana Krishna, so you praise the Karma Sannyasa and also Punaryogam. So you also praising the yoga as well, the Karma Yoga as well. So tell me for certain that one which is better between these two, whether the Karma Sannyasa is better or Karma Yoga is better. Which one is better? So he asks like this. So with this question coming at the beginning of this Adhyaya, Acharya gives a very lengthy introduction for us and explanation. What is the reason why this Arjuna is asking that question? And he explains that. So, because in the previous chapter, in the Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, we looked at the shlokas like Karmanya Karmaya Pashyet Akarmane Cha Karmaya. So that means he who finds inaction in action. And also we saw that Sa Buddhiman Manusheshu Sayukta Krishna Karma Grada. He is engaged in yoga and is the performer of all the actions. And also in the 19th shloka, we looked at Jnanagni Dagda Karmanam Tamahu Panditam Buddha. So he whose actions have been burnt away in the fire of wisdom, the Agni of wisdom. And then in the 21st shloka, we looked at Shariram Kevalam Karma Kurban Napmoti Kelbisham. By simply performing the karmas for the maintenance of the body does not result in any sins. And in the 22nd shloka, we looked at Hidrichya Labhasamtushta Dandvatito Vimatsaraha. So remaining again satisfied whatever comes unasked for. So like this we looked at in that shloka. And then 24th shloka we looked at Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagno Brahmanahutam, like this. So everything one sees as a Brahma. And then Karmajan in the 32nd shloka, where we look at Karmajan Viditan Sarvan Nevam Jnata Vimokshase. So knowing them all to be born of the karma and things like that, one becomes Vimokshase, one becomes released from this. So that's again we looked at in 32nd shloka. And then in 33rd shloka we looked at Sarvam Karma Akilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyati. Partha, all the actions, all the karmas in totality culminate in jnana. And then in the 37th shloka, we looked at Bhagavan saying, Jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tata. So this Jnanagni, this Agni of knowledge, wisdom, reduces all the karmas into actions. So, and then also we looked in the 41st shloka, where Bhagavan saying, yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. So actions do not bind one who has renounced the karmas through the yoga and so on. Bhagavan explains. So in all these shlokas in the 4th chapter we looked at. So again, many examples we quote, Acharya quotes here. In all these shlokas, Bhagavan spoke of sarva karma sanyasa. He spoke about renunciation of all the karmas, all the actions, renunciation of all those actions. He spoke about all that. Now, but what he did, Bhagavan also in the 42nd shloka, the last shloka of that chapter, he said, Taspad dajnana sambhutam vritsam jnanasi natmanah chitvainam samshayam yogamatishto tashta bharata. So he says that take the course of the yoga, which is karma yoga. Right? He explains about Karma-Sanyasa throughout the chapter, and then he concludes, Bhagavan concludes saying that take the recourse to this yoga, karma yoga, by cutting asunder with the sword of knowledge this doubt you have in your mind. So take this karma yoga, engage in karma yoga. He says that engage in karma yoga, but he explained about Karma-Sanyasa, and that's why there are two things he said. So Bhagavan has said you undertake yoga consisting of performing the action. Yogam cha karma anushtana lakshmanam anuttishta. So like this Bhagavan says, so you undertake this karmas, okay? So performance of the karmas, but he praised all along the Karma-Sanyasa. So now between these two, which is like, for example, the performance of the karmas, the karma yoga, and renunciation of the karmas, renunciation of the actions, Karma-Sanyasa. So the performance of the karmas and renunciation of the actions, since there is mutual opposition between them, like Acharya says that Sthita Gativat Paraspara Virodhat. So he says that like the opposition or the difference between them is like between resting and in motion. Okay, so one moving and one other one is resting. So you can't be saying that I'm moving and then at the same time resting, or you are doing some actions and then resting. So either you're doing action or you're resting, right? So just like there is opposition between them. So it cannot be these two, Karma-Sanyasa and Karma Yoga, are two opposite things like that. Therefore, it is not possible for the same person to undertake them together. You cannot say that I'm performing Karma Yoga and I'm Karma-Sanyasa. Okay? Nor it has been enjoined that they should be practiced at different times. So Acharya says that, so first of all, it is not said that these Karma Yoga and Karma-Sanyasa should be performed them together, because it is not possible. And so does this mean they should be performed at different times? So morning I perform Karma Yoga, afternoon I perform Karma-Sanyasa. Is that possible? That's also not true. Should not be practiced at different times. That's also not said here. That is, what is to say here is, it should be practiced at different times. So that is, again, if we say that it should be practiced, there arises a contingency of having to undertake one of these as a duty. So that's why it is not possible. In such case, one which is more commendable. So if I have to pick one of these, so one of these is more commendable. Which one is the better of these two? For example, whether it is the performance of the karmas, karma yoga, or relinquishment of the karmas. So that is the Karma-Sanyasa. Which one is it to be undertaken? So that need to be known. And thinking like that, and with the view of knowing the one which is more commendable, Arjuna asks here, saying that Sanyasam Karmana Krishna Punaryogam cha samshisi yachreya yetayorekam tanme bruhi sunischitam. He says that, Arjuna says, which one is the better of this? You talk about Karma-Sanyasa and as well as Karma Yoga as the great things. Which one is the better one? Say again, we'll come to that one first look in a little bit later in detail, but here he's asking, that's why the Arjuna is asking this question. So that's what Bhagavad Pada says. Again, if you look at similar question came at the beginning of 3rd chapter as well, Karma Yoga, when we looked at, right? Sankhya Yoga, for example, Krishna explained the Sankhya. The Jnana Yoga, he explained the Sankhya yoga, right? So he explained the path to knowledge and how to attain that knowledge and all those things he explained. But at the end of that, he said that you perform your actions. So Arjuna asked at the beginning of that. So in that third adhyaya Karma Yoga, Arjuna asked Krishna, he says, Jayasi Chet Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana Tatkim Karmani Kore Mam Niyojase Keshava. And then he concludes saying that questioning, saying that Tadekam Vadanishchitta Yena Shreyo Mapniyan. So Arjuna asks him, O Janardana, if it be your opinion that knowledge, jnana is superior to karma, then why you are urging me to actions, right? And you confuse me. Tell me for certain which one of these I should give me. We will give me the highest good, Shreya. Which one will give me that help in attaining that highest good, which is the moksha? So, like this, he asked in the third chapter. Here as well, in the fourth chapter, Bhagavan explains about Karma-Sanyasa throughout, and then he asks Arjuna to follow the Karma Yoga. So here Arjuna is asking again, Yachaya etayor ekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. So tell me which one is the better one, right? So which one? Again, here uses the same word Shreya. And in the third chapter as well, he asks Nishchitta yena, vada nishchitta yena Shreyo Amapniyan. So there also he said, tell me which one. Here as well he says, so tell me that one, which is bruhi, sunishchitam, nishchitam. So definitely which one is the better. So like this here as well he asks. So Acharya here giving this explanation and commentary to introduction to this chapter, he says that it is not that. So here there could be one objection coming here. People might ask, so is it not that the verses quoted here, for example, from the fourth chapter, the Bhagavan's intent on elaborating this jnana yoga, this steadfastness in the jnana, he spoke of the renunciation of all the karma-sanyasa. For it was said for the one who has realized, who is the knower of the self. The one has that realization, but not for the one who is ignorant of that, one who is not attained that realization. It is not for that. So all those shlokas about Karma-Sanyasa was said for him. And consequently, since the performance of the karmas, the Karma Yoga and their renunciation are meant for two different people, therefore the question of with weaving of knowing the preference of one over the other does not become logical, right? So if it is said for two different people, you can't say that which one I should pick, because either you are an ignorant person, that means you are not realized, so then your Karma Yoga, or you are a jnani, you are realized, then it is for you is Karma-Sanyasa. So if that is the case, why this question? What is the point of this question? Like this, it might come. Acharya explains that it is true from your point of view that the question is not rational, but the answer to your question is, on the other hand, the question is certainly justifiable from Arjuna's standpoint. Why is that? Acharya explains that in the previous adhyaya, the emphasis was on the renunciation of the karmas, the Karma-Sanyasa, and not the agent itself, the performer itself, because it was intended by the Bhagavan to present that as a duty, okay, in the form of let the wise man renounce and so on, like that. It was presented as a duty. But it is impossible to undertake the renunciation as a duty. You cannot take renunciation as the sannyasa as a duty unless there is an agent to do it, a performer to do it. Therefore, from one point of view, even he has not realized the self, the one person, the individual who has not realized this Atma, the Atma Jnana, who has not come to this Atma Jnana, becomes approved as a fit for renunciation. On the other hand, it is not intended that the renunciation has to be undertaken by the knower of the self only, those who are realized only. So again, when we say that the wise man should renounce, it doesn't mean that the others should not renounce. So that's what it is. And to Arjuna, who thinking like that, so the statement is that the wise man should renounce, the one who has realized should renounce their karma sannyasa. But that doesn't mean that others should not do karma sannyasa. That's what Arjuna is thinking. That's why this question becomes relevant, that which one I should pick. So to Arjuna, who thinks that even an ignorant person is entitled to both karma yoga and the renunciation or the sannyasa of the karmas, there is a mutual contradiction between the two of options here available. And if one of these two has to be undertaken by an individual as a duty at a time, the more commendable one has to be preferred, right? So if you have to perform two things, one is karma yoga or karma sannyasa, if that is your choice, you have to pick the one which is more commendable, which one is, and not the other. In this way, the question with the intention of knowing the more commendable one by Arjuna is justified, even though Bhagavan said actually the karma sannyasa is for the jnanis and the karma yoga is for the ajnanis. He has said that. But for someone like Arjuna, again, we have to go back to introduction to Bhagavad Gita, where Acharya clearly explains that Arjuna is just a person here noted, but we are actually all of us are Arjunas, right? So we are in that Arjuna's position where we are all ajnanis, and Bhagavan is explaining to us. The Arjuna is just a nimitta. He is just a one used there as a example in that in this discussion. But Arjuna's questions are actually our questions, because we might think that there are two options, karma yoga and karma sannyasa. If karma sannyasa is better, why not I should take karma sannyasa and not karma yoga? Why should I do karma yoga, right? So that's the question we all think, even though Bhagavan explained previously that karma sannyasa is for jnanis only. We think that there are two paths, like we see today, right? So this is just this Bhagavad Gita is this question from Arjuna is similar to what we see today. So, for example, take Gayatri Mantra. Okay, so Gayatri Mantra is superior. Everybody says. Okay, so once we know that, there are rules as well of who should chant Gayatri Mantra, how one should chant Gayatri Mantra, and all those kind of things. But what we do is, there is Gayatri Mantra, and then there is other shlokas or whatever, which many people or almost everybody can chant. Now, there are two options, Gayatri Mantra or others. I don't care how to do it, even though it clearly said that Gayatri Mantra reciter has to follow blah, 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 these kind of 7 rules or 15 rules or whatever the number of things. He should be eligible to do these kind of things. Then only he can do Gayatri Mantra, right? On the other hand, shloka says that the shlokas or the stotras anybody can do, or this bhajan anybody can do, with maybe some little restrictions. This anybody can do. I'm saying Gayatri Mantra gives lot of benefits. It is the superior. There is nothing better than that merits in terms of merits. And stotra gives you something. Okay. Now, which one you are going to pick? You're going to pick Gayatri Mantra because that is the superior, right? So the similar thing here, Karma Yoga and Karma Sanyasa, there is two things. Krishna said, even though he said Karma Sanyasa is for those jnanis, in the minds of us, the Arjunas like us, okay, our mind, we are got two choices here, Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga. Why should not I go for Karma Sanyasa, right? Similarly, what he asked to in the 3rd chapter beginning, where he said, if you say jnana is better, why you are asking me to go engage in this battlefield, in this karma, right? Similar question here as well. When there are two options, even though it is very clearly stated that two are for two different types of people, we just ignore that criteria. We say that there are two options, right? So that's why this question is still relevant. And Bhagavan, to make it clear who should follow Karma Yoga and who should follow Karma Sanyasa, it is important. That's why Arjuna's question is relevant. That's what Acharya explains here, that Arjuna's question, even though Bhagavan's statements in the previous chapter were very clear, it is still relevant because of Arjunas like us. And the question is here is not with reference to those who jnanis as well. So again, that is this meaning of Arjuna's question is also evident from the examination of the meaning of the words in which how Bhagavan replies as well. Because Bhagavan in his response to Arjuna's question, tell me which one of these is Shreya, which one of Karma-Sanyasa or Karma Yoga, which one is better. Bhagavan says the Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishresa Kara Ubho Tayostu Karma Sanyasa Karma Yogo Vishishyate. So he says that renunciation, Sanyasa and Karma Yoga lead to moksha, but among these, Karma Yoga excels, he says. Bhagavan responds. So the point to be ascertained here is this. Is this that after stating the purpose of Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga to be moksha, it is in this here, Bhagavan says that between these two themselves, Karma Yoga and Karma Sanyasa, the superiority of Karma Yoga over renunciation, Karma Sanyasa, is owing to some speciality. Or is it because both, that is, both the idea of Karma Yoga, that too leads to moksha, and Karma Sanyasa, which also leads to moksha, if both ideas are said by him with respect to renunciation of the karmas or Karma Yoga practiced by one another, who is not a jnani? So that's the question. That's the question we need to answer here. Now, again, the challenge might come saying that why does it matter if the statement means moksha can be attained through Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga undertaken by the jnani, and then the Karma Yoga is superior to Karma Sanyasa, or both these ideas, Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga, are asserted in respect of renunciation, Karma Sanyasa, as well as the Karma Yoga resorted by the ignorant of the Atma. So which one is, that kind of challenge might come. Bhagavad Acharya for this, he says that the answer is, since it is impossible that Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga can be undertaken by the jnani. Jnani in the sense here I am saying the one who has realized, who has that Atma Jnana, okay, who is the knower of that self, Atma, who is the knower of that Atma. And by that jnani, for him it is impossible to undertake Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga. Therefore, to say that both of them lead to moksha, and also to say that to call the Karma Yoga superior to Karma Sanyasa, Ityetad Ubayam Anupannapan. So, Anupapannam. So, Acharya says that both of these statements are absurd. The statements which is saying that both Karma Sanyasa and Karma Yoga lead to moksha, and also to say that Karma Yoga is superior to Karma Sanyasa, both of these statements are absurd. That's what Acharya says. And he says that Yadi Anatma Vidha Karma Sanyasa Tatpradikulascha Karmanushtana Lakshana Karma Yoga Sambhavetan Tada Tayoho Nishreyasa Karatvokti Karma Yogasya cha Karma Sanyasat Vishishtvaabhimadhanam Ityetat Ubhayam Upapadyate. He says that if it were possible for one who is ignorant of Atma, who is not realized, to undertake this Karma Sanyasa and its opposite, which is the Karma Yoga, consisting of performing of the karmas, then these two statements that both of them lead to moksha and Karma Yoga is superior to Karma Sanyasa becomes justifiable. But Atmavidastu Karma Sanyasa Karma Yogayoho Asambhavat Tayoho Nishreyasa Karatva Vidhanam Karma Sanyasascha Karma Yoga Vishishyate iti cha Anupapannam. So he says, Acharya says that, but in the case of the one who is the knower of the Atma, who is the jnani, for him in his case, since it is impossible to pursue both Karma-Sanyasa and Karma-Yoga, therefore to say that they lead to moksha and Karma-Yoga is superior to Karma-Sanyasa is illogical. He says that is asambhava, that is illogical. Now Acharya explains that Karma Yoga and Sannyasa, it is not applicable to those jnanis. He says that the objection, those some people object and the opponents say that, is it that the renunciation of the karmas, that is Karma Sannyasa and Karma Yoga, both are impossible for the jnani? Is it the case that both Karma Sannyasa and Karma Yoga both are impossible for the jnani, or that one of these two is impossible? For a jnani, is it impossible to perform Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyasa? Both are impossible, or just only one? And if both are impossible, then is it the renunciation of the karmas, Karma Sanyasa, or is the Karma Yoga? Which one is impossible for the jnani to perform, Karma Yoga or Karma Sanyasa? And the reason for this impossibility, you need to explain. Like this, some people will say. So Acharya explains that the answer to this question is, in the case of the jnani, the knower of the Atma, the knower of self, in his case, Atma Vidaha, so that is the knower of the Atma, Nivrutta Mitya Jnanatvat, Uparyaya Jnana Moolasya Karma Yogasya Asambhavasyat. So, in that case, in the Atma Vida, in the one who knows the Atma, in his case, since there has occurred the cessation of this false jnana, false knowledge, Mithya Jnana, Mithya Ajnana. So, again, this Ajnana, Avidya, that false knowledge is has ended. In his case, those who are realized in the jnani's case, this false knowledge has ended. False knowledge in the sense this world is true and things like that, this samsara and attachment and all those kind of things have ended. Avidya is destroyed. In his case, Karma Yoga, which is purely based on that erroneous knowledge, the Mithya Jnana. Karma Yoga is purely dependent on karma, is purely dependent on everything, that I need heaven, I need this, I need that, those kind of things, right? So Karma Yoga is dependent on that. That is impossible in the case of a jnani, because he has removed that false knowledge that I need all these kind of things. He doesn't need anything, right? So in his case, this Karma Yoga, Acharya says, is impossible, asambhava for him. Karma Yoga se asambhava. Yeah. So because that Mithya Jnana has removed from that has ended in his case. And Acharya says that Janmadi Sarva Vikriya Rahitvena Nishkriyam Atmanam Atvatvena Yo Veti Tasya Atmavidaha Samyak Darshanena Apastamitya Jnanasya Nishkriyatma Surupavastana Lakshanam Sarva Karma Sanyasam Uktva Tadvipari Tasya Mityajnana Mula Kartruttvabhimana Purastarasya Sakriyatma Surupavastana Rupasya Karma Yogasya Ihya Gītā Śāstre Tatra Atma Surupa Nirupana Pradesheshu Samyak Jnana Mityajnana Tatkarya Virodhat Abhavaha Pratipadyate Tasmat Atmavida Nivrutta Mithya Jnanasya Uparya Jnanamula Karma Yogoda Sambhava Titi Yuktam Uktam Syat. So Acharya says here that what's being established in various places in this Gita Śāstra, in this scripture of Bhagavad Gita, what is explained here in this, in various places, in various portions dealing with ascertainment of real nature of Atma, is this. What is that? He says that having stated that jnani, the knower of the self, who has realized his own Atma, which is actionless, owing to it being free from all such transformations such as birth, decay, and things like that, death, and things like that, birth, growth, decay, and whatever it is, all those things, transformation, it is free from all that. And from whom false ignorance, this mithya jnana, has been eradicated as a result of full enlightenment, in that jnani, there follows a renunciation of all the karmas, karma-sanyasa, which is characterized by abiding in the state of identity with the actionless Atma. So that's the one reason. And that's what's said in the Gita Śāstra. And it is also said that it is here, this real nature of the Atma is again explained, that this Atma, it is then again stated in this Gita Śāstra that because the contradiction between the correct knowledge, Samyak Darshana, and Mithya Jnana, Samyak Jnana and Mithya Jnana, so the correct knowledge and false ignorance, Mithya Jnana, so those and their results, the Karma Yoga, which is the opposite of renunciation of karmas, okay, which is the opposite of Karma-Sanyasa. Karma Yoga is opposite of Karma-Sanyasa, which has this Mithya Jnana as its basis, and that Karma Yoga which is preceded by the idea of agentship, that's saying I am doing it, for example, and I am the doer, and with that Karma Yoga which consists in being established in the active self, and which is that is non-existent to him. And that being so, Acharya says that tasmat atmavidah nivritta mithya jnanasya viparyaya jnana moola karma yogona sambhavati iti uktam syat. So he says that being said, it will be logical to say that karma yoga, which has a erroneous knowledge, mithya jnana as its source, is impossible by the jnani, by the atmavidah, by the knower of the self, who become freed from that type of false or illusory knowledge, that mithya jnana. So karma yoga is impossible for him. Again, the question was, for a jnani, which one is impossible? Is it karma yoga or karma-sanyasa or both? If whichever one is impossible, explain why. So Acharya explains that this Gita Śāstra has explained this many times. So now those who are asking this question, raising these kind of objections, they will ask, Acharya says that they will say, in which places again dealing with these kind of things, true nature of this Atma, this has been established, the absence of the karmas for this jnanis, where it is said in this Gita Śāstra. You said that Gita Śāstra has said this many times. So tell me where it has said. And Acharya answers this, saying that the answer to this is beginning with in the second chapter, for example, where Bhagavan says, Avinashi tu tadvidhi ena sarvavidam tatam vinasham abhyasyasya na kaschit kartumarrasi, 17th shloka. So, but you know that, you should know that, that means tat, you should know that Paramatma Tattva, Atma Tattva to be indestructible, Avinashi, and so like this you should know. And the absence of the karma, in the case of the jnani, has been stated in various places, such as also, for example, in the 19th shloka of that Sankhya Yoga, where Bhagavan says, Eyanam veti hantaram veschainam manyate hadam ubhauto na vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. And where Bhagavan says that he who thinks that the one who is the killer or the one who gets killed and things like that, both of them do not know, that 19th shloka. And then again in the 21st shloka also he says that Veda vinashanam nityam yenam ajam avyam atam sa purusha parthakam gateti hantikam. So he who knows this Atma as indestructible, eternal, and things like that, avya and things like that, the one who knows that Atma, how can you destroy that? So like this, there are many places in the Gita Śāstra, this has been said that jnana, for a jnani, this Karma-Sanyasa has been stated, like this Acharya responds. Now, the objection might also come, saying that is it not that in the various places dealing with ascertainment of this real nature of the Atma, when we are discussing about this Atma, the real nature of this Atma, Karma Yoga also has been said. Right? So in this same Gita Śāstra, if you look at Bhagavan says Tasmad Yudyasva Bharata. So he says that Bhagavan says that you or Arjuna join the battle. So that means he says engage in karma. And then Bhagavan also says in the same Sankhya Yoga 31st sloka, he says that Swadharmapi chavyakshana vyakampitavasi. So even considering your own duty, you should not hesitate and things like that. And then in 47th shloka, the famous 47th shloka of Sankhya Yoga, again Bhagavan says, Karmannevadhikaraste mapaleshu gadachana. So he says that your right for action, your right is for action alone and not for the results and things like that. He says that again, Karma Yoga is said in that, saying that you should perform your karma. So if that is the case, the objection, those who are raising the objection, says that consequently, how can Karma Yoga be impossible for the Jnani? So Acharya said that Karma Yoga is not possible for the Jnani. And he said Gita Shastra says many places, like for example in this Sankhya Yoga 17th shloka, 19th shloka, 21st shloka, and all these places were given examples where it says that Karma Yoga for the Jnani it is not applicable. Karma-Sanyasa is for him. So then the objection, those who are challenging this concept, they say that there is also a lot of places where we were talking about this Atma Jnana at that time. This Karma Yoga also mentioned by Bhagavan, like in this 18th shloka, 31st shloka, or 47th shloka of this Sankhya Yoga. So when it is like that, how can you say that Karma Yoga is not possible? And for this, Acharya explains with 8 different reasons why that is the case, why the Karma Yoga is not possible. And again, he uses the shlokas said in this Bhagavad Gita, and we will, if we start that, we will not finish today. So we will cover that next time. So again, this is all introduction to why Arjuna is asking this question. Okay, so why Arjuna has started asking this question, saying that which one is better, Karma-Sanyasa or Karma Yoga, which one is better? So to that, Bhagavan Acharya is explaining the background to that, and we will look at that next time.